Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: people of Reddit who ran into the girl that rejected you in the past. How did it go? Went into pharmacy to get an oral enema to prepare for my colonoscopy. As the pretty pharmacist asked me about the specifics, we slowly recognized each other. It had been about 30 years since I had cried asking her not to break up with me. Sigh. Oh, that one is good. The only situation I could think of funnier than this was if she turned out to be your urologist and only recognized you when you dropped your pants. Or when they started crying. OMG, I recognize that crying. The pretty, shy girl from my high school told me she had a crush on me back then, when I was picking up a prescription for my dying stepdad. Weird timing. She stood me up on Valentine's Day 3 years ago. She's now my next door neighbor. Talked to her a couple times but we aren't friends or anything. Sounds like a good rom-com plot. Hallmark, write that down, write that down. We both pretended we didn't see each other cause deep down we're both awkward people and we both remember how each of us handled the situation immaturely and badly. Osh, same thing, same thing. I was coming back from my girlfriend. I boarded a bus in a rush after running towards the bus stop, and when I was catching breath I raised my head and saw my ex like half a meter in front of me. We totally ignored each other, but both clearly knew who the other person is. So fucking awkward. That's pretty bad, but bro, one time my ex came to our table at a restaurant and introduced herself when I was with the current GF. So fucking awkward. My dad met my mom at a local bar. At the time he was hanging out with some friends that apparently seemed dirtbaggy. So she gave him the number of a 7-Eleven. 4 years later they are both at the same bar again. He thinks, oh, she looks familiar. He walks over and says, so how is 711 doing? To what she apparently laughed very hard at and then gave him her real number. Lol. Played the long game, I see. Furious scribbling. Surprising someone would still remember that after 4 years and connect the joke, and likely buzzed at the time. Equally surprising someone knows the phone number of a 7-Eleven. It was probably her go-to number when she wasn't interested and she knew it was a 7-Eleven. I was buying a sandwich. She didn't look at me. I didn't say anything to her. I ate my sandwich. Good sandwich. Good thing the sandwich was good. But he broke up with the sandwich 1 day later. It had turned into a piece of shit. I had an ugly duckling phase in early high school. Acne, my teeth were too big for my face, and my arms and legs resembled that of a baby giraffe. There was a girl, let's call her M, that I had a serious crush on. When homecoming came around, I worked up every bit of courage to ask her to go to the dance with me. I did it 1-on-1 to try and save myself some embarrassment if she said number. Instead of just saying no, she loudly exclaimed she would never be caught dead with someone like me and then proceeded to tell everyone how she rejected me. 10 years later, I go into a department store to pick up some new clothes and she's working the area I happen to be in. I didn't recognize her, but she recognized me. I don't consider myself attractive, but I'm definitely not the ugly duckling I once was. She said as much and started talking about how great of friends we used to be. I didn't say much. The conversation of grabbing lunch to catch up came up, and that's when I halted the conversation and reminded her how cruel she was to me and left her standing there. My man. Definitely not her man. I saw a girl from high school at a reunion. She never rejected me because I never had the nerve to ask. At the reunion she confessed that she had a crush on me. You miss all the shots you never take. That would kill me on the spot, I think. All that time wondering and never knowing until years later. That would definitely kill me. Met a guy back in high school in 2010. We talked and kinda liked each other but never admitted it, and apparently he thought I rejected him. Within a month, he moved schools and dated someone else. I dated someone else too. Fast forward 2 years later. Bumped into each other and found out we were both not seeing anyone. Started talking again but never really pursued it. He asked me out but didn't get to go because within 2 weeks, he left to another country for university. Stopped talking after a while due to time difference and eventually lost contact. 1.5 years later, I got in serious relationship with someone else. Another 6 years later, found him on Instagram and for some reason I greeted him on his birthday through DM. He only said thank you and didn't say anything else. 5 months later on my graduation, he DM'd to congratulate me. So I said thank you and didn't say anything else too, not petty, just didn't really have much else to say. Few days later, he just straight up asked if I wanted to go on a date with me. I soon learned that I was always at the back of his mind for years, and that he was low-key waiting and still hoping. Feelings were mutual as I too would always had that what ifs all these years. We found our way back to each other after 8 years and finally got married just few months ago, December 2021, after a decade of knowing each other. All those time wondering and never knowing killed us too, which was why he just bluntly asked me out the moment he had the chance. In his words, I wasted 2 chances before, I'm not wasting another. Rejection sucks, yes, but regret is the worst thing to live with. I met this woman near Christmas of 1999 or 2000, had a wonderful night of chatting, dancing, just a perfect night. I live near her, so I drop her off in the taxi. She said she was leaving shortly for Australia, so wasn't looking for anything major, but to give her a call later in the week and we'd go do something. She never responded. It was a wonderful night though, and something I always fondly remembered. Fast forward to 2019, I meet this woman on Tinder, we have a great brunch and end it with a hug and a kiss. Start seeing each other regularly. After a couple of weeks I drop her off at her mom's house. Looks so familiar, it's the same house I dropped that woman off 19 years ago. This woman I'm dating is that woman who doesn't remember it, doesn't remember me at all. Such a wonderful insight into how there's 2 sides to every tale. We didn't last long as a couple, but it was really interesting to be able to cross off one of those that got away. Plot twist, she doesn't remember you because it wasn't her, it was her mother. She hasn't aged in 20 years. We went out together. Had a fun time, went back to her place. And I got sick and puked in her toilet. Ended up having to crash the night, asked for a kiss in the morning and she just double finger guns and was like, no dude, you puked. We didn't talk for 3 years. We're dating now. Lol. You puked. Literally exactly how it looked. Lol. She sounds like a chill person to have around. Those are always the best when they can be honest, funny, and caring. Sounds like you found a good one and I wish you both the best. Thank you. She's amazing. She rejected me again. This time for a home loan. Still no interest then. She came out as gay and broke my heart when we were 19. Took me a couple of years to get over it. I ran into her 10 years later in town. Wasn't too awkward then. She had a long-term partner, as did I, so had a brief chat and went on with our lives. We bumped into each other again a couple of times over the next few years. Some of the same friends, etc. Then a mutual friend died in an accident. We had a get-together a couple of months later with many folks who knew him, including my ex. We spent pretty much the whole night chatting. Turns out her partner had died recently from cancer. Fucking shame. She was a lovely woman. I'm happily married now and my ex knows this, so there was no flirting or anything like that. End of the night came when she told me, we were both quite drunk at this point, that we wasn't sure she was gay. I promptly made my excuses and left. Really didn't feel like continuing with any of the thoughts that brought up. Went home. Carried on with my life. She died last year. Depression led to her shutting herself off from her friends and family. The loss of her partner and general frailty led to her becoming malnourished and generally ill. Still fucking miss her. Jesus Christ, so much death, I'm so sorry for your losses. Life is full of death, sadly. Not really rejected but dumped and re-met repeatedly. I met a girl in a bar and told her a big tale about how I was hitchhiking around Scotland tomorrow in an attempt to seem like I had some kind of personality and dynamism. It worked and we spent the night together, and during that drunken wild night she decided to accompany me the next day as I went hitchhiking, for a week, around Scotland. So I did what any horny 19-year-old would do, I agreed we should totally do it. 2 strangers drunkenly sharing a one-man tent, sleeping in laybys and on traffic roundabouts. Of course it was a fucking total disaster. Too many ridiculous stories to tell. But 4 days later she'd had enough and rowed off across a loch with a handsome ex-forces guy to visit an island. A euphemism. I went to a bar and when I woke up her stuff was gone from the tent. I didn't see her again until 15 years later. I bought a house. The neighbor opposite with 3 kids, lawyer husband, badly parked Jaguar blocking the road, it's her. That first day in 1 second we locked eyes and knew we had to handle this like adults. So, for the next 10 years we avoided ever speaking or acknowledging each other's existence. Luckily 3 years ago we resolved awkwardness as she took the gracious option of moving house. Awkwardness resolved. In 1 second we locked eyes and knew we had to handle this like adults. I lost it at this.